fan favorite of the DC cinematic universe. Like the man behind me. Yet, someone who is not all too well known. We're talking about the GOAT of niche heroes. To know this guy, you gotta know ball. Of course, today we're talking about Green Lantern. Kidding. We're talking about Booster Gold. Shout out Steve Rogers because this is the guy who makes the sacrificial play, and they're both blonde. You know? But today we're talking about Booster Gold. He's one of my favorite, like, low-key heroes. Not because he's like low-key a hero, but like just people don't know about him. He flies under the radar. He's best friends with Blue Beetle, and not the Blue Beetle you're thinking of, the GOAT Jaime Reyes. Blue Beetle as in Ted Cord. As in old school, right? Which is like ironic because Booster Gold, if you know about Booster Gold, he's from the future. To give you a little bit of background lore, based off what I know, to make this video a lot more interesting and to give it a little bit of a flow to it. Booster Gold is a hero who wasn't always a hero. Booster Gold is a regular guy. He's from the future. He played football. He was a star football player. He started to realize, to my knowledge, that his games were being rigged and he was being like set up and told to lose certain games so his dad can make profit. I think it was his dad. I know somebody in his family was a gambler. Something bad happens to his sister, and then he, regrets it, lives a pretty sad life as a janitor. As a janitor in like a museum with high advanced technology, as he's from the future, he finds technology that allows him to travel back in the past. He also finds the GOAT Skeets, which is a crazy name. With all the gooners going around nowadays, we live in a time where goon doesn't mean Joker henchman from Batman, Lego Batman. Goon means something entirely different. But he travels back in the past to become a hero. And one of the biggest character traits about Booster Gold is he has like this egotistic jock demeanor. Now, mind you, he was a jock. He was a football player. This makes sense. But in the future, he has nothing. He has no one for him, and he, in his mind, is a nobody. So part of the reason he becomes a hero originally is for like the fame of it, for the attention to be a somebody. And that's why it's kind of ironic that his best friend is Ted Cord, the older Blue Beetle, and he's from so far in the future, but that's his best bud, Booster Gold as a character gives off Johnny Storm type vibes. You know what I'm saying? Not as much of a playboy to my knowledge as he gets looked down on and goofed about all the time. Hence the joke in the beginning of the video. There's literally a clip from the animated series. I don't know if that's from a movie or not. I think it was from the animated series, where Booster Gold is saving people, and he's so unknown that the kid calls him Green Lantern. Thanks for saving me, Green Lantern. It was Booster Gold, bro. Mind you, it's in gold, which is very close to yellow, which for a long time was the weakness of Green Lanterns. So it's a very interesting comparison. But yeah, Booster Gold, despite coming to the past for fame, is a different hero than that. And that's what makes him the guy to make the sacrificial play. Booster Gold is unknown, passing as Green Lantern with no ring, right? Because nobody knows who he is. Why? Because he makes the sacrificial play. Oh, you keep saying he makes the sacrificial play. How does he make the sacrificial play? Well, if you're a hero and you're a time traveler, and you're not Eobard Thawne, who isn't a hero but is a time traveler, the rules of time do still apply to you. Meaning, if you change the past too much, you're cooked. Your future changes. So unless you are some anomaly or paradox, or born of some point outside of time that is not like related to time, like your existence is a fixed point that is parallel to time. So even in the time that you're in, it doesn't like affect you because you're a fixed point in a parallel stream. So even if you corrupt this entire thing, you still exist. Think Future Trunks from Dragon Ball. He made the change in the past, nothing happens in the future. Well, that means he doesn't get memory wiped and he doesn't change as a person because those are two parallel timelines. The power and stuff he keeps because he's in a parallel timeline. Everything he gains here, he keeps. But anything he changes there doesn't change in his world. The only thing that does change is him, because he keeps everything he gained. And in Booster Gold's case, what really inspired me to make this video is thinking back to the clip of him in Batman. And I think this was from an animated series. I probably noticed it's an animated series. The movies have a certain like animation style to them. And when he gets called a Green Lantern, the animation style is pretty crisp. And their animation is always on point, but the animation of what I'm thinking about right now is a lot more cartoony. So I don't know if I'd bet money, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm at least 72%, 68% confident in the fact that this is probably from the animated series, or an animated series. No, it's probably a movie. It was a one-off thing. It could be TV. Anyhow, Booster Gold has to save the time stream from essentially villains that go and corrupt time. And when they do this, it kills like the time, and obviously because they're not from the time, would have dastardly effects on the timeline. In this animated series in question, Booster is with Bats, and they're essentially solving this situation. And it's kind of a situation like what Doctor Strange has with Peter in the Multiverse of Madness. Well, No Way Home. I'm tripping. Where Doctor Strange casts a spell and he's like, oh, everybody who loves you will forget about you. We would forget about you. He said that's not as emotional. We're dealing with Batman, Booster Gold, right? But essentially, Batman and Booster saved the day. And what happens is Booster goes back to his time cave with Batman. And it's outside of time, obviously. That's how he monitors the threats and whatnot. So Batman, seeing all of this, like, yo, did you build this, bro? Hold on, you kind of tough. Because mind you, Booster is like this jokester like Johnny Storm, but he has like this negative aura to him, where it's like he's perceived as kind of a loser. He doesn't do anything. Oh, it's Booster, you know? He's just here to be here. When the whole time, he has this place kind of outside of time, or it doesn't affect the timeline, where he's looking for these threats all the time and solving them. But it's like, you would then ask, well, how is he always here? Well, unlike the Flash, where the writers can BS him not being in any instance, if you're a time traveler, you can be in multiple places at once. It's very possible. Your time, Einstein postulates, special relativity, time is relative. Physics is the same, and mind you, this is fiction, so this doesn't have to be true, but physics is the same amongst all reference frame. However, things like time, length, velocity, and things of that nature are different. They are relative to the person. So the fact that Booster has the ability to time travel, he could, in theory, be at every point in time if he wanted to. Not because he's immortal, but because you just keep time traveling to those points in time. For him, relatively, it could take a long time. But to you, relatively, you were in every single day that has ever happened. Well, let's not say every day, but let's say like every year, for example. Because say it takes him and he spends an entire day in that year for like some huge crisis. He has 365 of those days in each of his years. He's from the future, so he probably has some way of expanding his lifespan. But let's say he has a 70-year lifespan. You just take 70 years, multiply that by 365 days. He could be at any point in time, at any time he wanted. And again, if you exist outside of time, you don't even have to be there. A past you could be there. A future you could be there. So it's like, even if by the time I get here I would be too old, I would just tell past me, go here real quick. And it's to a point where you could infinitely be anywhere. This is random nerd yap about space-time. But the huge point of the story, to get back on topic, Booster Gold is the type of guy to make the sacrifice play. Him and Batman essentially saved not even just the world, like the universe, technically the multiverse, right? Or not the multiverse. Each verse has its own space-time, so technically the universe. And he takes a picture with Batman because, as you can imagine, It's very lonely being the only person who knows how you think, knows how you feel. He puts up a mask amongst other people the same way Batman claims, well, the same way Batman says Batman is who he is, Bruce Wayne is the mask. Imagine that's the case, except Batman is only Batman for less time than he is Bruce Wayne. Booster wears a mask all the time, and the only time he could, in theory, let this mask down is when he's alone or with someone he very, very highly trusts. And because of that, he lives a lonely and kind of sad existence. Because anytime he goes to save the day, he's making a sacrifice play because he'll never be remembered being there. Because he's a time traveler. You know, it's like, oh, to make the finishing blow, the enemy tripped into the blade. You're not going to remember it as they tripped into the blade. If you that stabbed him, you're going to remember it as I jabbed my blade into my enemy. I vanquished them. Guess who doesn't get credit? Booster Gold. The glue. The sacrificial play. And that's why he took the picture with Batman. I mean, Batman got motion inverse. Every hero glazes him. Every villain either glazes him or sees him as the villain for villains. So they hate him to like a very high degree, but they still respect him. So Booster takes the picture with Batman, and essentially Batman leaves, and the episode kind of ends, to my knowledge, with Booster Gold having the picture, but he goes to talk to Batman at some point, and Batman obviously doesn't remember anything because he went back into like the regular timeline. So memories catch up. It's like jet lag almost. Memories filled and replaced because he got rid of the time anomaly, so things had to have gone normally. So Batman doesn't even remember any of that happening. So it's like, oh yeah, man, goofy Booster. But again, and from Booster's perspective, moments prior, you just got your props from like one of your heroes, bro. One of the people that you wanted to be because you wanted that fame. Booster went back for the fame and all the wrong reasons to be a hero. And in the end, he exists now with none of the pros that come with being a hero. And to himself, he views it as his own atonement. Yes, he makes friends. Yes, his life isn't the most miserable, but he doesn't get the fame. You know, there are heroes like Spider-Man and Superman who don't always get the bread, but they get the fame. They get the girl. Booster doesn't have the girl. Booster doesn't have the fame. I don't know balls. Maybe he does, but that's who he is. The sacrificial play. He's the guy, as Steve said, who would crawl over the wire for another guy. That's Booster Gold. Someone willing to risk everything they have. He had nothing. And he flipped that bit into being a great hero, so he should have everything, yet he still has nothing. There's a certain level of humility to that, a certain level of sacrifice to that. And that's what it requires to be a hero. Being a hero, no matter if you get the girl, no matter if you have the money, requires sacrifice. Batman comes home every night, bruises, bones broken, still have to go out the next night, sleep missing. Is the same Batman who in animated runs, when he's gotten together with someone, cried at his parents' grave saying, if I have someone to come home to, I don't know if I can go out there and do what I need to do. I'm sorry, I feel like I failed you. I failed my city. He does what he does because he's the only one who can do it. He sacrifices. Superman sacrifices. He shows his restraint. He gives up on things in his personal life and the accolades that could come with being Superman. I mean, yeah, being Superman. Because Clark matters too. Ma and Pa matter too. The ability to see every life is valuable. And Booster Gold, someone who manages the timeline, he is making sure your universe stays the universe that it's meant to be. He's the one who makes sure you become the person you're meant to be. Because no matter what life you live, it could always be worse. So Booster takes it upon himself to live a mundane, lonely, boring life to ensure that your life gets no worse. You could argue he doesn't make your life get any better, but he saves your life. What more can you ask? That's Booster Gold. That is the sacrificial play. That is the GOAT, Green Lantern. And cut.